Lesson number 7, divide. Now, out of the 4 basic operations, division is usually most people's hardest or they find it the trickiest. Um, now, as we'll learn later on, division is actually just the opposite of multiplication. So if you start looking at it that way, it might make it a little bit easier. It might. So before we get started, let's look at some vocabulary. All right. So the number you're starting with, the number being divided into is called the dividend. All right, that's the number being divided into. The number you're dividing by is called the divisor. So you have the dividend divided by the divisor. And your answer is going to be a quotient. Just like product is the result of multiplication, quotient is the result of division. So these are 3 key vocabulary you need to know: dividend, divisor, and quotient. Now, there are different ways of doing division. I'm just going to show you what I think is the simplest, what I just call like the old school method, which you've probably seen in school before, but we'll go through it. So, look at this first problem. Matt's book has 368 pages. It is divided into 8 chapters. So, which each have the same number of pages. How many pages are in each chapter? So, I'm going to set up my problem, 8, and then you have this little house structure. My students like to call it a house. Okay. So this is how I set up the problem. 368 divided by 8. Make sure you get the right ones on the right side or else you're in with a very different answer. So make sure your dividend is going inside the house and your divisor is going outside the box. Okay. So you just follow 4 simple steps. All right. Step 1. How many times does the divisor go into the first digit in the dividend? So looking here, 8 goes into 3. Now, what's the problem? 8 can't go into 3. 3 is smaller than 8. So what are you going to have to do? You're going to have to go to the next number. So now, because 8 doesn't go into 3, I find out how many times does 8 go into 36. So 8 goes into 36 how many times? Well, it goes in 4 times, right? Because if I did 5, that would be too many. It goes in at least 4 times. So 8 goes into 36 at least 4 times. So what do I do now? Well, I put that 4 on top. Make sure it's going above the 6, not above the 3. Okay, so the 4 goes over the 6. So now I come back and I multiply my divisor by that answer. So 8 divided by 4 gives me 32. So I'm going to write 32 there right underneath it. All right. Now, now I'm going to subtract that 32, the answer, 8 times 4, from 36. So what do I get? 6 minus 2 is 4, and 3 minus 3 is 0. Boom. My last step is I go to the next digit, that 8, and I bring it down. Boom, right here. So after that last step, you just repeat. Start over just like you did before. First step, how many times does the divisor go into that number? Well, the divisor goes into 48 a nice and even 6 times. So I'm going to write the 6 over the 8. So I'm going to repeat what I did before. Now I'm going to multiply the divisor by that number. 8 times 6 gives me 48. I'm going to subtract that. All right, 48 minus 48 is 0. 8 goes into 0 how many times? 0 times. So that is your answer. 368 divided by 8. Or how many times does 8 go into 368? The answer is 46. Let's look at another example. An airplane flew 2,304 miles in 6 hours. How many miles did it fly per hour? Okay, so whenever you have one of these per questions, that's telling you it's division. So what am I going to do? I'm going to set up my problem. My divisor goes on the outside. Oh, let's clean that up a little bit. All right, shall we? All right. So let's see. So my divisor is going on the outside of the house. 6 goes into 2,304. And like I've said before, the numbers get larger, but the math stays the same. So let's go ahead. Remember our first step, step 1, how many times does the divisor go into the first digit? Well, again, 6 can't go into 2. That's too small. So I have to go to the second number. Oh, okay. Well, 6 does go into 23. How many times? Well, it goes in at least 3 times. Now, if I did 4, that would be too much. So it goes in 3 times. I'm going to write my 3 up there. Now, my second step is to multiply those two numbers together. I take my divisor, 6, and I multiply it by the answer. So 6 times 3 is 18. All right. My third step is I'm going to subtract now. 23 minus 18 gives me 5. Last step, bring down that next digit. Just one. You just bring down one digit. Don't keep going. Just bring down that one digit. Boom. Now, rinse and repeat. Ready? So 6 goes into 50 how many times? Well, it goes in 8 times, at least 8 times. 6 times 8 is 48. Okay. So I'm going to subtract that. 50 minus 48 is 2. And I bring down my 4. And I get 4 here. What do? I'm going to repeat the whole process again, starting back. How many times is 6 going to 24? Well, it goes in nice and easy 4 times. I'm going to multiply those together. 4 times 6 is 24. And then 24 minus 4 is 0. And there, I'm done. So, how many times does 6 go into 2,304? It goes in 384 times. Let's look at one final example, this time using multi-digits. So, Colin financed a car for 48 months with interest. The cost will be 22,992. What is Colin's monthly payment? Okay, so I'm going to set up my problem. So 48 is my divisor. So I've got 48. I'm going to give myself plenty of room on this one because it's going to go on for a while. 48 divides into 22,992. All right. Well, again, like I said, the numbers get longer, the math stays the same. So this time, instead of having a 1-digit divisor, I've got a 2-digit divisor. But it doesn't matter. All my steps are still the same. Ready? So how many times does 48 go into 220? So first I start with how many times does 48 go into 2? Well, obviously 48 can't go into 2, so I have to go to my second number. How many times does 48 go into 22? Well, again, I can't do that because 22 is too small. So I'm going to have to go to that third number. Ah, here we go. How many times does 48 go into 229? Well, it goes in at least 4 times. So I'm going to use my 4 there. So I'm going to do 4 times 48. All right, 4 times the divisor. That gives me 192. Okay, I'm going to subtract that. So 229 minus 192, 9 minus 2 is 7. 22 minus 19 is 3. So I got 37. Now, it looks like I could just keep going. No, 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 no. Do not forget to bring down that next number. All right. I know it looks like it's dumb, but you got to remember you always bring down that next number. So now I'm going to rinse and repeat. How many times is 48 going to 379? Well, this time it goes in 7 times. It goes in 7 times. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to do 7 times my divisor. 7 times 48. It gives me 336. I'm going to subtract those. Okay. And what do I get? 9 minus 6 is 3. 7 minus 3 is 4. And 3 minus 3 is 0. So guess what? Now, again, you don't forget to bring down that last number. Okay, don't forget to bring down that last number. So 48, and I repeat the whole process. Step 1, 48 goes into 432. And nice and easy, 9 times. All right, so 9 times 48, again, gives me 432 minus 0. How many times is 48 going to 0? The answer is 0. Your answer is 479.